and welcome to the Quincy Access Television studios. I'm Mark Crosby. Thank you for joining us for Good Deeds, a quarterly update where we look at the Registry of Deeds and relate that, of course, to Quincy and Norfolk County in general. We will be talking today with the Registrar of Deeds, and that would be Bill O'Donnell. Bill, welcome back.
Bill, thanks, Mark, and thanks again to Quincy Access Television for doing this show, and to the students and the staff that are filming it and putting it on. 2020, it's a new year, and I thought we would Happy New Year to you and Happy New Year to all the residents in Quincy. What I thought is we would bring, it's in January here, bring in the statistics and see where we were for 2019. And it was a busy year at the Registry of Deeds. We looked, first of all, at document volume, and the total documents recorded in 2019 were 150,899 documents, as opposed to in 2018 countywide 141,162. So that was up 7%, almost 10,000 documents. And Quincy kind of mirrored that. Quincy in 2018 had 13,758 documents recorded, and in 2019, 14,481, up almost 1,000 documents, 723, up 5%. So clearly the document volume was busy. And the good news is total deeds, which is an indication of activity, sales, activity when deeds get recorded at the registry. We track it. And in countywide, they were up. The total deeds countywide were 18,125 in 2018 to 18,325 in 2019, up 200 or up 1%. In Quincy, they were slightly down. There was 2,214 deeds recorded in 2018 to 2,165, so down 49 transactions. So, again, Quincy's a great place to live, and there's activity there. And when we talk to brokers, they're saying there's less inventory available for sales.
And I guess in looking at Quincy, that would be a surprise, because we see units being built quite frequently here in the city, so you wouldn't think that there would be a shortage.
Quincy's very vibrant, and I'm again looking countywide. And as brokers say, you could have there might be pockets of inventory, but you have to price it right too for sales. But I think one of the reasons the brokers are seeing lack of inventory, even lack of inventory in Quincy, is that there's a tremendous amount of demand. There's housing as a regional issue is a problem, and we've seen it locally. People are trying to find ways to get more housing, so that people have a nice place to live. And when you have desirable communities like Quincy, people want to live here. And the other interesting thing that I was looking at, WBZ Radio had a statistic that in 1988, the average age to upgrade your home, so you're in that starter home and you went up, you upgraded, was 36. And in 2019, the average age was 55. So people are staying in their homes longer. Probably people that might be renovating their homes longer, and people might be getting in the market younger. A lot of younger people, maybe they can't afford to get into the market, or maybe they're renting in Southie or renting here in Quincy. But that was an interesting statistic. And there was an economist, Elliot Eisenberg, I follow, and it was real interesting. He said in 1981, the median age of the U.S. home buyer was 31. By 1989, it had drifted up to 34, and after a relatively mild 1990 recession, it shot up to 42. But then in 1997, it went back down to 35, and he notes that it's been rising steadily ever since. In 2000, it was 39. In 2006, it was 41. In 2015, it was 44. And he says today it's 47. So there are statistics showing that, people are kind of buying houses kind of later in life, or at least the average age. One thing I would point out before I get into the mortgages, we encourage at the registry through our outreach and on our website at www.norfolkdeeds.org for people who do own a home, whether it's a house or a condo, to get a homestead. And the good news is, countywide, homesteads were 12,546 in 2019 to 12,102 for an increase of 4%. But Quincy and Quincy Access Television has to take a bow because in Quincy, 1,202 homesteads in 2018, 1,289. So that was a 7% increase, and I think it's outreach programs like here on your show, Mark, we're always talking about homesteads, and it resonates with people. And it's a good consumer protection. I'm an attorney by training. Attorneys have different opinions, but I would say 9.9 attorneys out of 10 would say get a homestead. So that was one.
Let's talk about a homestead for folks that don't know. There is an automatic homestead. We should mention that as well.
Yes, and that statistic that we just went over doesn't track automatic homesteads. Massachusetts, for the first time, thank you local legislators, has an automatic homestead, but the protection is only $125,000, and it gets apportioned depending on how many people own it.
But when you look at the housing prices now, that isn't too much.
No, and again, it used to be $300,000 when I first started as register. It's up to $500,000. So I would rather declare the estate a homestead. The filing fee is relatively modest, $36. And in Massachusetts, you have a right to declare an estate a homestead, which sort of puts a picket fence around your home. So again, it's worth doing it, and clearly they're doing it in Quincy. Your neighbors are doing it. So if you don't have a homestead, or if you want to check to see if you have a homestead, call our customer service at 781-461-6101, and we can look up to see if you have a homestead, because some people might not know. Another busy statistics is mortgages. Mortgages are when people borrow money. In county-wide, it was 24,504. And in 2018, and from January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, it was 29,740, or an increase of 5,236, a 21% increase in mortgages. And similarly in Quincy, it was 2,607 in 2018, 3,022. That's a 415 increase in number, or a 16%. So clearly there was mortgage activity, and we saw that county-wide, and we saw it in Quincy for the whole year, but even the last quarter. And the last quarter is October, November, December. In Quincy, there was a 53% increase in mortgages, and in county-wide, it was 58%. So, and sometimes November and December are slow months because of the holidays and things. So clearly, there was a lot of business taking place at the end of the year, and it shows in these statistics. And one of the reasons that people might be borrowing is the interest rates. The Federal Reserve cut interest rates. The interest rates are relatively low, certainly relatively low. I bought my first house in 1987. The adjustable rate was 8%. So the rates are relatively low. And back to what we talked about earlier, I think more and more people are renovating their homes. They're staying in their homes longer, and for different reasons. Maybe they're comfortable where they are. Maybe they're in a great place like Quincy. They don't want to move out of Quincy. And so maybe they're using the mortgage monies to renovate their homes, maybe put an addition on, and to stay in that home longer. So mortgages are definitely up.
You recently made the front page of the Quincy Sun
newspaper. For good news, I hope. For good deeds, I hope. For good deeds.
It was just that. It was you basically talking about the numbers and why Quincy is, you feel, attractive.
I think it's an attractive place. I mean, first of all, look at all the activity that's going on downtown, the beautiful job you did to incorporate the historical aspects of this city with the plaza, dedications to John Adams and Abigail Adams and John Hancock. I always feel it's near the water. Any community near a water is certainly an attractive place to live. Plus, it has not only accessibility to Boston through the T, but also you're close to the highways. I mean, you can get to Cape Cod here. So there's a lot of reasons people probably want to live in Quincy, and it's a well-run city, and it's a city that back in the colonial times, some visionary people lived here, and I think Quincy still acts on that tradition of vision and trying to make it a great place to live and trying to constantly improve. And I think that's why you see the statistics you do here in Quincy. One bad statistic we talk about, and the good news is it's going down, is foreclosures. It doesn't matter whether you're in Quincy, there's 28 communities in Norfolk County, there's always someone struggling with foreclosure. And if you know someone in that position, have them go on our website, www.norfolkdeeds.org, because we are partnered up with a couple of nonprofit groups, Neighbor Works Housing Solutions, as well as your own Quincy Community Action Program. They give help to people that are facing foreclosure. They have literacy or financial education programs, financial literacy programs that help people deal with what problems they might have, and they give great advice and counsel. And on our website, we have links to the Attorney General's office, which also has resources available.
We should mention that, as I didn't want to stop you, but we do have some foreclosure statistics that will be on the screen, countywide, and then Quincy as well, as we talk about
and I was
foreclosures.
going to get into that. The foreclosure deeds, which is the last part of the process, that's where a foreclosure has taken place and the lender has recorded a deed. In 2019, for the whole year, countywide, it was 146. And in 2018, it was 221. That's down 75 or down 34%. And in Quincy, hey, the good news is you only had 22 foreclosure deeds. Imagine that, only 22. But, you know, if you're that one person or one of those 22, it's still painful. And it's down to 14. In 2019. So that's good news. That's the end of the process. And again, do not wait till they're having an auction at your house. There's legal rights, and get that advice with those nonprofit groups. Get it earlier in the process. Do not wait till there's a sale or an auction taking place. There's plenty of opportunity before that. So this is a problem. Try to address the problem early on as a consumer. And one of the ways you know you're in problems, you know, you're getting notified by the lenders that you're not paying.
Sure.
But what we've started doing when the recession hit back in 08, 09, I said, we have to start tracking notices to foreclose, because that's our only involvement at the registry other than the foreclosure deeds. By law, if you are not paying the lender, the bank, and they start a foreclosure, they sue you in court, they have to record a notice to foreclose. Part of the process is a notice to foreclose has to get recorded at the registry. And so that's kind of the beginning of the process. And the good news is in 2019, countywide, for the whole year, it was 463 notices to foreclose. In 2018, it was 612. That's a 24.3% decrease. So that's good news. And in Quincy, there was 48 in 2019 for the whole year, January 1st to December 31st, and 61 in 2018. That's a 21.3% decrease. So we like to see the other numbers, you know, sales and deeds, you like to see going up. That number, it's encouraging to see that it's going down.
I do have a phone number to the Massachusetts Attorney General's Consumer Advocacy and Response Division, CARD, and that number is 617-727-8400.
Yes, and make sure you get some help there. That's for sure.
And you had mentioned, of course, Quincy Community Action.
Yes,
and,
they're your neighbor. They're here in Quincy. They do a fabulous job, and reach out to them. But just make sure you reach out to somebody. That's for sure.
Let's talk about land document fee increases.
Yes, again, we collect the fees, but the state legislature increased the fees. It was signed into law by the governor, and they went into effect December 31st.
I'm going to have you move your chair just slightly.
Okay.
You're drifting.
I'm drifting.
But go ahead. I don't want you to
My wife says that when I'm walking. I'm always drifting,
I don't want you to
too.
drift off the scene here.
But there was a fee increase that went into effective December 31st, 2019, so people should be aware of that.
Okay.
We've put on our website what the fee increases are. Basically, it was a $30 fee increase, and that increase goes entirely for the Community Preservation Act. So CPA, and you have one. It's been adopted here in Quincy, and one of the reasons they did it was, they have projects, and I think more and more communities adopting CPA, and they want to get the percentage up. as far as reimbursement. So we collect the monies. When we're ordered to collect the monies, we collect it. If I don't collect it, the Department of Revenue, I don't need indictments. We collect the money and we send it to the state as we are directed. And but that is a fee increase. The good news, as I mentioned, one of the increases that didn't take place was on the Homestead. So the Homestead Act is staying the same. So there's a reason for that. And even the reason is the legislature recognizes that it's a consumer protection, and don't make it more burdensome on the consumer to get an increase.
Let's look overall 2019 and electronic recording.
Well, electronic recording, for your viewers, when I first started as Register, they didn't have electronic recording. It was put in by the federal government. It had to get okayed by the federal government and the state government. Electronic recording allows us now to take documents via the internet. So an attorney here in Quincy could do a closing. They go on our website, because on our website we have every document back to 1793. We're completely indexed. So they want to make sure there's no last-minute liens. When they're satisfied, they transmit the document. So the banks and lenders seem to like it. I know the Real Estate Bar Association of Massachusetts, as well as the Norfolk County Bar Association, supported electronic recording. So they just transmit the documents and we record it at the registry. And Norfolk County is one of the few registries. In 2017, we were the first registry to do electronic recording on the land court side. And there's still, it's been expanded to 5 out of the 21 registry districts. But we've been doing it since 2017, and it's been seamless. Again, we have to thank your local legislators, and again, obviously, Majority Leader Mariano's in leadership. You have Bruce Ayers, you have Tacky Chan, you have Representative Hunt, and Senator Keenan, because they allowed a bill, they worked on a bill where it allowed us to do electronic recording on the land court side, because they had to change some of the laws to make that happen. So it's all been going good, and you can see the percentages increasing. On the land court side, it's about 35% of our volume is now coming over the internet for recording, and on the recorded land side, which is about 80% of Norfolk County, it's approaching or over 50%. But we still like people coming in, and we still have closing tables with beautiful pictures sent by the various historical societies and commissions to make it a welcoming place. I know we have a beautiful picture of the Quincy Quarry that was, we solicited from the historical societies and commissions and towns, some pictures that they thought would represent the various communities. So people are still welcome to come to 649 High Street in Dedham. It's a public building. We have 50 computers sprinkled around there. If people want to, use the computers themselves, it's not just for lawyers, title examiners, and engineers. It's for everybody. And if people want to come for the closings, attorneys still do the closings at the registry as well.
I know. I just wanted to take one point that you had just mentioned about the computers, and I know the registry does host computer seminars.
Yes, please check our website. We're going to set one up in the spring. We do one in the spring. It might be in May, towards May and June. One of the reasons we didn't do one last fall was that we were renovating the building. The building was built in 1903, and finally the final repair and renovation project was completed in 2019.
You had a historical figure there as well.
Yeah. We had John Adams, President John Adams, there at that celebration. But check the website, and some people, you can go online. We're trying to bring the registry's records into people's homes and businesses. If you go on our website, you can look up all these documents, whether you're doing it for business purposes or some people are now doing it for genealogical and historical resources. It's all online, and it's free access.
And 781-461-6101. And then norfolkdeeds.org.
Yes, that's right. The first number is our customer service department if you have any questions.
Mortgage discharges.
Always an interesting issue. We were just at a couple of senior citizen agencies and centers this past week, and it always comes up. Mortgage discharges, you should check. I mean, you borrow money, they make, the bank makes sure the mortgage is there in case you don't pay. But when you pay off a mortgage, make sure that the institutions are getting either a mortgage to you to be recorded, or that they sent it to the registry themselves to get recorded, because it's been an issue. And what we've done to try to make it easier for people, because we've had a lot of people come into the registry, or when we have office hours, for instance, we had office hours in Quincy, thanks to Mayor Coke for having us there. People come in and say, hey, I was told I have to get a mortgage discharge. What's that, and how do I do it? Well, a mortgage discharge is a 1 or 2 page document that tells the world that your mortgage has been paid off. And people are right. They say, well, shouldn't the bank have taken it, or taken care of that, or shouldn't the attorney have taken care of that? And you're right, they should. But if they have it, a lot of times it's your property, and you're finding out when you're going to sell the property, or you're trying to refinance. So I always tell people, call our website, or check when we're in one of the communities, or here in Quincy. That's what we do. And if there is a mortgage that's outstanding, you have to get the mortgage discharge. Now, I'm a great big believer in community banking. You have a community bank here, the Colonial Bank. You go down, you get great customer service. They'll get you the discharge. It's from 20 years ago. Okay, they'll look it up. Some of the bigger banks, you have to find someone that gives you customer service. We have a document on our website, Where Has My Bank Gone?, which gives you state and federal contact information to track down where your bank has gone. Because some banks have went out of business in the 1990s, other banks have merged. And also we have a link to the FDIC, so you can try to track down. You want to get that mortgage discharge, that 1 or 2 page document, and you want to make sure it's recorded at the Registry of Deeds, because that tells the world that that debt has been paid off. And you also want to make sure, if you have equity lines, they are mortgages. They are liens against your property. If you've, in your head, closed off your equity line 10 years ago, make sure there's a mortgage discharge that's recorded at the registry that tells the world that that has been closed out.
When you mentioned banks, there is actually a phone number from the Mass Division of Banks, 617-956-1501. That would be used to locate a bank?
Yes, to get some assistance. And again, we have that contact information on our website. But just to try to track down. And the FDIC has a nice website kind of showing you where has your bank gone. Years ago in Norwood, they had Union Warren. I think Union Warren is now Citizens, but you can kind of track the merges and,
right,
and where did they go. Because even though it might be in a different name, some bank took over that other bank, they owe you the courtesy, and legally they owe you the responsibility of getting you a discharge.
Consumer notification, we'll look at that. Overall, that's been a service that's been provided by the Registry of Deeds. I believe, according to my numbers, 1,117 Norfolk County homeowners have signed up for this program.
Yes, it's a free program. We're the first registry to put that in here in Massachusetts. And now I'm hearing all kinds of ads on TV about, protect your title. So, I mean, that's a whole other issue. But what we did with this free consumer notification service, you sign up for an email. You're not going to prevent the fraud. I always tell people that. But I always point out the FBI says the fastest growing white collar crime is property and mortgage fraud. So I've signed up myself. I get an email anytime a document in the name of William O'Donnell gets recorded. It may not be me, but I check on it. The one time it could be me, that all of a sudden, hey, that's my deed, I didn't sign that. Or that's my mortgage, I didn't sign that. We haven't prevented the fraud with this consumer notification service, but I can get on it right away. I don't think my parents checked their title and, all the years they owned it. No one would think to. But people are doing things now. We haven't seen this type of fraud in Norfolk County, but it's happened in other areas of the country. And again, we're trying to, at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds, be proactive and kind of reflect what's going on in society. And unfortunately, there are scams and people taking advantage. And the biggest asset we have are our homes. So to me, the consumer notification service, getting that email, it's a small inconvenience to make sure in this day and age that something's not happening on my home.
Well, I just heard a report that cyber crimes are up nationwide.
Oh, that's
No surprise.
No surprise, and people spend a lot of time thinking of ways to take advantage of other people, and
Sure.
That's unfortunate. But that's the sign of the times.
What maybe in the way of legislation is outstanding, or
Well,
is something we should look at?
I always point out, and again want to thank Senator John Keenan. We have House Bill 1413 and Senate Bill 960. That was a bill that had a hearing up in front of the Judiciary Committee at the State House. It just requires that assignments get recorded for residential mortgages. So, you know, if my mortgage gets assigned 5 times, the assignment should be recorded, because we have everything on the internet now. So I can go online and look up and say, oh yeah, that's who has my mortgage. 'Cause sometimes people call up and they know who they're paying sometimes. Sometimes it's a service group, but it's not the entity that has the assignment. And the funny thing is, 20% of Norfolk County land is land court. You are required by law to record assignments on the land court. So if it's good for 20% of Norfolk County land, it should be good for the other 80% in my mind. And again, you know, it gets opposed up at the State House for different reasons. And again, Senator Keenan is the chief sponsor on both bills, and we appreciate it. And hey, you know, we just keep working at it. I see it as a consumer issue. Some people see it as, you know, a revenue issue, that hey, these assignments should be recorded. That's revenues. I see it as a consumer issue, that you know, have them recorded, and only for the residential mortgages. You know, for just the residents. You know, I'm not talking commercial. Just help the residents. Give them the ability to go online and see what entity has their mortgage.
I know one of the or two of the public service announcements that we ran, that we worked in conjunction with you to get out throughout the county, was the Toys for Tots drive and the food pantry drive.
And I want to say, Quincy Access Television, you residents in Quincy, I know Quincy is a great place to live. I've said that publicly, but you have a great you know, community cable television show here, and it's a real asset to the city. And they're you know, that PSA went out countywide. So the Toys for Tot program, which we've been partnered up for a long time with the United States Marine Corps Reserves, and we thank them for their service, and we thank them for helping out in that, and we thank Quincy Access Television for getting the word out, not just on the Toys for Tots, but also for the food pantries. Because yes, we have a food drive, you know, as Thanksgiving comes into Christmas, and we appreciate again Quincy Access Television publicizing that. But in the PSA, it points out that if you go to our website at www.norfolkdeeds.org, it has a list of all the food pantries, and they need help all year round. So the fact that you and your organization takes the time to help us put that PSA together, and it's out there, and I think it helps not just, hopefully it helps here in Quincy, but it's out there in the 28 communities that make up Norfolk County. So there's a ripple effect, and that's because of Quincy Access Television, and again, thank you.
And as we close, any projects that the registry is working on that will come to fruition in 2020?
Well, we still recognize our mission is to make sure that we're doing the job as far as recording documents, doing it efficiently. We don't have any backlogs. We're doing everything electronically. We're still one of the few registries that are still doing it the old-fashioned way. We still print books, but everything's online, and we're back to 1793. We are working, and we'll talk about it some more. We've done a couple of books. For the 225th anniversary, there was a historical book. For the building dedication, we did another historical book, and I've been working and doing research, and we've been doing some work, trying to put a veterans book together, hopefully for November of 2020. So, you know, we've set some goals. The goals is to run the best registry we can. I think we have one of the best, if not the best, and that's because of the staff. But we're also trying to put other projects together like that.
Sure. I want to thank you for joining me today, informing me, of course, and through Quincy Access Television to the residents of Quincy. So thank you again, and we'll see you in short order.
Thanks, Mark, and thank Quincy Access Television.
Pleasure. Thank you. And thank you at home for watching. You have been watching a program of Quincy Access TV. Please continue to watch Quincy Access Television for more locally produced programming.